Hello, VETS crew. Mexico. Tricky track, flow track. Definitely, definitely a bit of a challenging track. Different kind of flow to Bathurst, but still, just a fun little layout. The NASCAR layout's a bit better, I think, but might be a few more passing opportunities. Pretty equally as hard on the tyres, so yeah, we'll roll this through and we'll do what we do. There you go. 29.98, pretty tidy lap. That was a second flyer, so I didn't maximise the first flyer, but yeah, 29.98. It's a good tidy lap. Gives you a good understanding of where things go and yeah, where you need to flow. I'm a poet. I didn't even know it. So yeah, let's do this. So look, run down into one. Obviously, it's pretty straightforward. You just drive in a straight line until you get to a braking zone. Brake marker for me from an onboard. You can go back and watch that. But yeah, roughly at the start of the ripple strip. You gotta be careful not to outbrake yourself here. You brake too deep, it doesn't hurt turn one too much, but it hurts the turn 2, 3 chicane. So the more speed you carry in, the wider you are on exit in this part, which really hurts you in the next section. So that's the kind of flow you're looking for at this track. Some tracks you can still be quite aggressive and flow the car, whereas I find Mexico in these sectors, you've kind of got to underdrive the car a little bit and carry a little bit more corner speed, but narrow. Sounds easy. But yeah, look, obviously good brake application all the way in, down to second gear. And try and delay your shifts a little bit into turn one. Find if you're a little bit too aggressive on the downshifts, you risk a pop of an engine. And second, it can get a little bit of rear lock here. So just try and be a little bit patient on your downshifts into second gear. And then you want to pitch the car in pretty aggressively. It's still a fair bit. I'll bring this up. Sorry, still a fair bit of trail brake on there. But yeah, you want to pitch the car in and really attack the curb. And you can see there, I'm really happy with the rotation in the car, so I'm able to clear the brake, get away from the trail, and start picking up the throttle. So that's quite tidy in here. It's pretty much exactly what you would want, in my opinion, how I would attack this corner. Really kind of nice. I can pick up delta into turn one, just to put into context. So I can find roughly about 2/10 by braking a bit deeper and attacking turn one more, but you lose that 2/10 through here. So if you come out too wide here, it really affects this point and this point. Okay, so sacrificing a little bit here by making sure you got the car rotated in nice and tight opens these two up to be able to flow the car and pick up so much more speed through these next two sectors. Yeah, so don't think about it corner by corner at this track. It's really sector by sector. You've got to string 3 corners together to maximize your lap time. Not just, oh yeah, I was really good into that corner, but I was shit out of it or through the next 2. But anyway, so sort of, really you're only a third track, quite narrow. And then it's just a breathe on the throttle. There's no brake here. Sorry, trust me to lie to myself. A little bit of brake there, but that's just a little bit of nose weight stuff. If you roll the throttle correctly, you can probably get away with it. But again, it's about flowing. You don't want to drive it in too hard here and then stand on the brakes, because you're just going to drop so much speed. Great number that, by the way, 9.5. So there's your apex speed, 9.5. But yeah, so a little bit of a brake there just to get the weight on the nose. But you can just see just constant throttle, even though I've come out of it. Still got throttle percentage on the car. Really nice and tight on the curb. Obviously, you want to maximize this as best you can and use a lot of track. Track limits barely exist here. There's only one spot where it becomes an off track, but everywhere else it's pretty much open slather. So, but yeah, nice and tight there. And then you want to get the car flicked back pretty quickly, because the weight of the car it's leaning on the right because of the way it comes over the ripple strip. So you want to try and get that weight to transition back as quick as you can. So you kind of need to flick the car back and get it transferring weight. And then, yeah, again, attack it as nicely as you can. The more you use, the better the car feels. If you're a little bit wider here, it does tend to bounce a little bit more over that sausage. And if it does that, it gets really unsettled and takes a long time to get back to the throttle. So try and cut as hard as you can here. And again, you can look at the rules. That's over there, but there are no track limits. Yeah, there's no track limits. So yeah, nice and clean. And as you can see how the car's really settled there. And I'm able to get on the throttle and rotate the car. Like I said, I could probably show you another lap, which shows you what I mean. But you can just see it's very settled over that bump. You know what? As a matter of fact, we will have a look at a previous lap. So if we have a look at the 30.00 lap, which was my first one. Okay, so see here, so that's a really good example. So I'm only, I don't know, what, half a car wider, okay? But because I'm half a car wider, look at that, 3 k's an hour slower, okay? I'm very tight on the tyre wall, okay? And I had to use a little bit more brake. But then you can see I'm in no man's land here, way too narrow here. And it was quite nice over the curb, okay? But that's an example of the difference of, what, half a car? So, and if I look at that apex speed, you'll probably find, so 86 k's an hour on this lap. I was probably a bit slower on the next lap, but then, 91 k's an hour here. So you can see that's like 5 k's an hour down just through that half a car width too wide, on the exit of 1. So we'll swing back here, and just have a look at a couple of things. But so apex speed, so 84, 85. It's only 2 k's an hour down, so it's not a massive difference there, yeah. But like I said, 94, 95 versus 92, 93. So, 3, 4 k's an hour difference, and then a cleaner line here, but nice and smooth over there. Use all the exit here. Just be a little bit careful on your throttle application as you come over this bump there. But once it's over, bang, get into it. On a quali lap, you just smash the throttle and hold on for dear life. But yeah, definitely hard on the throttle once you get over that curb. Up through the gears. Here you're braking basically at the foreboard / shadow. Bit of a mistake in here. Just pinch the rears. This is probably the deepest I've tried to brake. And again, it's more about flow, but I got a little bit aggressive on this lap. So you can either tip the car in. So you can see there, just wanted to let go on the rears when so you can just see I had to come out of the brake a bit and back in. So I wanted to tip the car in, but didn't want to behave. But still managed to get the car in fairly well. Yeah, nice trail all the way in. You can sort of tell when the car's happy, and once it is, start picking up the throttle. Sorry, important life stuff happening. Yeah, rotate the car in nice on the curb, and a little wide, but not too bad. But you really want to square it up. You can see where the curb disappears here. You want to be really probably a little bit more narrow coming off, but that's just my opinion. But again, it's the same sort of concept as turn 1, 2, and 3 there. That you know, the wider you are here, the harder it's going to make this next corner. So second gear out of there. Now get back. Do not, in my humble opinion, on the edge of all these curbs, there's actually a drop off there. So the car will not turn. So if you drop a wheel on the outside of this curb, don't get me wrong, you can get up on the curb if you want, but don't try and use too much. If you are, you need to use a lot, and you need to use it early, because yeah, it'll just understeer and bottom out and go that way. But up into third gear as a short shift, this is it's a cool part of track, but it's really easy to overdrive, underdrive. But you want to get in, a little bit of brake just to get weight on the nose. Get in as tight as you can onto the tyre bundle. You can just see nice consistent throttle. I did have a little lift there where that brake was. It was a naughty. That's probably why I was as tight as I was as early here. I probably just want to open that up a bit. Float the car out here. Yeah, don't worry about the racetrack. Just remember, though, from a racing rules point of view, that you're off track at this point. Okay, so anytime you've got 4 wheels past the racing surface, whatever is determined in sub-regs or series regs, okay, you are off track. So if you're side by side with a car here and they squeeze you and you hit them, whatever, even if they're here, and you rejoin the track and they make contact with the rear of your car and send you into the inside fence, that's on you. You're the person off track. So just keep that in mind when you're racing. Fastest way around the track. But if you're in the battle, yeah, you need to be mindful that if that driver doesn't give you room, then you'll be in the wrong. That's my interpretation of the rules. But anyway, third gear still, nice balance on the throttle, as you can see, and it's just drive the thing in and through. And then same here, flick back. Now you cannot get all 4 off, okay? All 4 over the red is a slowdown, I think. I don't think it's an off track. I think it's a straight up slowdown. And if you catch too much grass here, that'll be an off track, okay? So, but you can see it's just attack and just balance the throttle. The curb here will help you rotate the car. If you sit out here, it'll feel like it just wants to understeer. Use these curbs to rotate the car as best you can. Get around. Car came out a little bit wide here. Wasn't too happy with that. You can see I'm having to fight back, but that's okay. And again, just off the throttle, a little bit of brake, let the car roll. Back in, you can't use as much here. I didn't use enough. Okay, I'm a bit wide here. Cost me a little bit. But you do want to use a fair bit here, but there is an off track in this area. So just find that limit. Sometimes it's about the angle that you attack it determines an off track. But there is an off track in this area if you don't attack the corner correctly. So just keep that in mind. No off track there though. But here it's just full attack. Same thing. You can have all 4 off here. That's not a problem. And then on exit, it's the same. So this is really, this whole sector is about, and we'll play that back through slowly so you can see that flow properly. But it is about making sure that we, maximize momentum and not on and off throttle all the time. Okay, through here, nice and tight on the curb again, and it's pretty much just hard in the throttle and float the car out. Now, some people will attack that section differently and use all of this out here. It just depends how you come out of that corner as to how much you use, but you can run out here. There's no issues with that. I tend to run a bit narrower. Obviously, if you're radiusing a corner as much as you do if you are running out here, then you're putting more load on the tyre. So I tend to run a little bit narrower and try and square the car up a little bit more, but that's just me. And then, you just flow that all the way out through to there. So if we just watch that back, because it's a long section, Really long section, and you can see where the time is. You can see just a touch wide there. It wasn't ideal. Again, it was about a 1/10.5 that I lost there doing that. And that puts me a bit wide here, but that's okay. Back in nicely. Picking up the throttle early to get the steer in the car and keep momentum up. Okay, attack over, a little bit of a lift over the curb here just to keep the car balanced, bit of throttle. And again, in nice and tight. It just didn't quite rotate in the middle there for me, but that's okay. Bit more throttle to get the car to turn. And then again, it's just a touch wider here, but not awful. But again, hard back in the throttle to get some rotation in it. A little bit of gentleness over the curves, but then back in the throttle hard. Up through the gears, no off track there, as we've talked about. Down into here, another tricky little braking zone. Again, it tempts you into going pretty deep and hard. You can brake a little bit deeper. Again, I'm braking a bit earlier to look after the tyre. As I always say, this isn't an all-out hot lap. This is just getting a nice, clean, consistent lap in for you. Early days, plenty of time in it. So braking, yeah, around about the start of the blue wall, I guess you could say. Oh, don't know what just happened there. Like a bird flew through the screen. So fifth gear, down to third for me, sometimes into second. So I went to second on this one. But you can see I'm putting a lot of load on the front tyre. Went to second on this, but you can carry third quite nicely depending how you exit this corner. So you want to attack, whoops, don't fast forward. You want to attack a lot of curb here. You probably could attack a bit more than that. Now you can carry a lot more momentum than I have and run the car out here. Okay. So you can use all of this as well. Up to you. On this lap, I haven't. I've just used traditional racing track limits. But yeah, you can run the car quite wide, but this curb is pretty aggressive. And in my opinion, if you're going to run the car wide, you'd probably use third gear because you'd be carrying a little bit more momentum, but that's up to you. But yeah, you want to get the car back across to the right as quickly as you can. And I'm under braking here. I'm not maximizing the entry. I'm kind of focusing on getting the car in and turned. So again, there's more time here to find. But again, nice, clean, consistent lap. But get the car out as wide as you can. You can see there's quite a trail here. A lot of trail. You brake, you're almost trailing all the way to the apex there. Nice and consistent on that, and then starting to pick up the throttle. Once the car tucks in and really starts to rotate around, that's where you want to start picking up the throttle. So yeah, and especially if you feel like the car's rotating a bit too well and you're going to clip the curb, don't turn out. Just pick up a little bit of throttle. A lot of people will turn out because it's turning in too well. A little bit of throttle will just induce a bit of understeer in the car and just help you instead of turning out and turning back in, because that little bit of turn out is going to cost you more time. Yeah, pick up a bit of throttle is going to lift your speed. So yeah, not perfect here. Just want it to be a little bit more squarer coming off, but that's okay. It's not too bad. Plenty of throttle in between. And then again, a lot of curb here, and float the car out wide. Now, it's really important. I struggled with this big time the first time we were here. But I was trying to climb the curb. I was trying to climb the curb here. And it's a bit bumpy, whereas it's quite flat there. So if you get onto it early enough, it's actually not too bad. But again, a reminder, you're off track. Okay, so it's fast, but you are off track. So if you're too wide again, car on the racing line has right away. So if you've got a bit of overlap here, someone's on the inside, even if it's not enough to affect a pass by the rule book, if there's contact, my understanding is you'd be at fault. So just be smart about that. But frankly, you could rail around the outside here and get a better run onto the straight anyway. But just be careful of a lock brake as you come back over here. Easy to lock that front right as you come through. Yeah, nice in and tight. You want to trail all the way into the apex again. Get the car in nice and tight and pick up the throttle as nicely and as early as you can. Get your rotation in the car and get back to full throttle as soon as you can. It'll accept it. And again, you can run the car out quite wide here without too many issues. I tend to stay off the ripple strips on the straight. It's got this this mental thing that it slows the car down, which some places it can. But yeah, look, that's a Mexico track guide lap. Like I said, it is a real flow track. It's so easy here to cook the tyres with locking brake, so you've got to be really mindful about locking a brake here and just looking after the tyre. Don't be too aggressive on it. Really just focus on flowing the car, keeping it nice and smooth. For this lap, I've moved the bias forward a little bit. What were we on? It's at 65.1 on this lap. The car's just as quick. I've only done maybe, I don't know, 10, 12 laps all up. The car was just as quick on the default, which I think is 64.6. So again, it's more about how you drive the car. There's only, really 2 big braking zones at this track. Well, it's 3 kind of, but 2. Everything else is just about flowing the car. So you do want some good brake stability. I noticed this week the cylinders have gotten a bit smaller again. So it's just something for you to think about. Easy to lock a front when those cylinders are a bit smaller, but the brake balance feels pretty good in the car, and the setup's got really good rotation. Just lacks a bit of rear drive, in my opinion, but that kind of comes with good front rotation on a track like this. So you want good turn. So it's a pretty solid dock, all in all. But yeah, look, that's Mexico round 2. I want to be on track this week. Unfortunately, it wasn't last week, but for many reasons, I hope I am this week, and I'll see you out there. Cheers.